Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend Rita, and I'm just really excited to be here today because I love the hero's journey and the way that our teaching supports our manifestation. So, we're going to take a journey together. Welcome home is always in the hero's journey, a journey back to ourselves. And it was a key theme in the work of Dr. Holmes. In fact, he said, always the spirit corresponds to our belief in and receptivity to it. Hence, there's a power within to which each may come, a presence which is light, a spirit which is guidance. This is fundamental to understanding the science of mind, and that's from his book, Can We Talk to God? So, what we're going to do today is take a walk around the hero's journey, the wheel that we all go through and change, and then have a deeper understanding of how our science of mind principles work in that. So, whenever we talk about the hero's journey, we're talking about cosmic forces, archetypes, and myths. They are the very stuff of existence even before humans came here. And so they're grand, they're large, they're like Odysseus, they're like Dorothy, because they need to be clear and make a point. And so our lives are not necessarily on that same scale, but they're just as dramatic. So while Carl Jung described, or I mean, Joseph Campbell described archetypes and myths, myth is the secret opening through which the inexhaustible life energies of the cosmos pour into man through cultural manifestation. And that's from Joseph Campbell's book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. So, as we take that journey, and our theme for today is Welcome Home, um, we can do that together. So, Diego, if you want to show the hero's journey chart. So, what I would like to do with this is for us to take a common journey. It is true what Joseph Campbell says, the hero with more than a thousand faces. And each of us has something in our personal journey that may be going on, but there's one we can take together, and that helps make things clearer, I think. So, our premise for the beginning of the wheels of the hero's journey, where we begin at home, as you can see at the top right, and then we encounter winds of change. So when we begin at home, it's familiar, it's comfortable. It may not be what we want, but you know, it's something to hang on to. So our premise is going to be one of the, I would say, the most difficult journeys we take is changing the norms of people around us about something. I mean, it may be your family, it may be associates, it may be neighbors, it may be yourself, but something, belief, attitude, action that you sense in yourself that there's a need for change. And so we can do that. If we take, for example, in Rumi's prayer in his reading, that there is deplorable violence going on around us, and we can choose to ignore it because it isn't affecting us directly. We can talk to each other about how awful it is. We can stuff it away and say, well, that happened someplace else. And so that's that first part of the wheel that's home, that's comfortable, it's familiar. It doesn't feel good in our heart, but it doesn't require any action. And so when we move into that next part of the wheel where the winds of change come in, so we go from home to the winds of change. The winds of change show their presence in us by, for one way, by disruption, a major event, a loss. We're sort of thrown out of the comfortable, or a sense of restlessness, a sense of dissatisfaction, something that makes us feel like we're not fully engaged in the lives that we want to live. So the winds of change hit us. And then, we enter into that next part, which is called the river of no return. So between the winds of change and the river of no return, there is a realization or soul's prompting within us that says, you just can't stay here. There's nothing for you here. So, with the river of no return, those are the choices we get. Are we can stay stuck, and that manifests oftentimes in physical disease too, a lot of times. Or if it was something we desired, it's in that nagging feeling of what might have been. If I had been willing to take the chance, what might have been, or blaming others for what's going on, which ends up in resentment. So not acting on our own behalf is regret. Blaming others is resentment. But there is within us a knowing that things aren't right. And when we reach the river of no return, we know that, but we also know that things could be different. So it's really the choice of fear or faith as we go around the wheel. Um, when we try to stay stuck from fear or doubt, we try to stay in that place where we don't acknowledge what's going on, we don't engage in it, we try to just make it go away. And then we enter the struggle mountains, that part where you just have to make a choice between fear or faith. What being stuck is that this will be the situation from now on, and you'll accept it with resentment, or you'll not act and have regret. And if we continue with our example, maybe it's a dynamic in your family or society where you see the treatment of someone as unkind, unloving, maybe even degrading. And at that point, you choose to either ignore it, say, I'm not the one who's doing that, and just not be involved. Or when you reach the struggle mountain, you feel the need to not allow that to happen. And it is a struggle, and we learn in the process. It doesn't mean trying to change people or trying to forcefully assert your position, which doesn't do anything. It means finding within yourself a grace that allows you to turn away from the situation without any sort of judgment about what's going on. It allows you to go into your own inner space and allow the creativity, the spirit, the myth, your archetypes to show you a way. And oftentimes that is a graceful act that never would have occurred to you, and it can change. So it's the just standing in your own truth, finding ways to not judge or alienate, but definitely not accept what's going on. And the faith is that we don't know how to do that. And what our ego mind takes up right away is the sort of fighting back or running away response. But if we acknowledge we don't know how to do that, but we don't want to have the struggle anymore, then we allow faith to be our guidance. And then, in that swinging between the river of no return and struggle mountain, is often what's described as the dark night of the soul. And it is not a fun place, as all of as we continue our example. So then you see at the bottom there's a foe and a helper. So that's the point at which people show up that help you. And there are people, in the great myths, they're like the trolls under the bridge that turn out to be friendly and they've got the key to the kingdom, whatever. But what it is an openness to other people, nature, music, lyrics, other people conversing with your soul and giving you the support that you need, the confidence that you need in order to continue around to the portal of transformation. Dreams are a big part of that. What we encounter with the portal of transformation is a sense of peace, a release, a sense of trust, because in that process where we're helped by unseen forces, because our attention isn't on the situation, the person, the action anymore, and we've surrendered to there's a better way, but we don't know what that way is, then we're open to and sort of in awe at the kinds of experiences that come to us. And what that is called oftentimes is we're starting to find our tribe, because when we're in the part where something is not acceptable to us anymore, needs to change, we know that that's not our tribe. You know, it may have been when we were growing up, it may, have been by accident, but we know that's not our tribe anymore. So our tribe starts showing up. They're people who have the same deep interest, the same desire to help, and they're often not human. But we feel a sense of optimism, a sense of hope as that goes on. So, a big part of the portal of transformation is our spiritual practices, deepening our spiritual practices, not to pray more, not to pray harder, but to be open to the spiritual wonders, the spiritual wisdom, the guidance that comes to us everywhere. We might find that the movies we're attracted to all seem to have a message. Every book we pick up seems to have been put there for us. But it's that sense of gathering what we need. And the gift partly is the desire for more growth, which is a gift in itself. And then we return home, where it says return home again. And we return home again changed, a different person. And we have gifts to share with the community, gifts that we know are our authentic gifts, because the greatest gifts come from ourselves, within ourselves. That's the gift that we're given when we sit with someone who doesn't try to tell us how to fix our problem, doesn't necessarily give advice like, like you should do this, but give stories. And they're the stories from their journey. And we know we're sitting with someone who's actually been there. Not someone who read about it, not someone who studied, but someone who has made the hero's journey, been through the dark night of the soul, argued within themselves about accepting what is or striking out. And in that, there's a safety and there's an inspiration. And so that is the journey. And it's usually described as when we come home to the same place, but we see it as if it were brand new and we'd never been there before, because we're a different person making that journey. So that's the journey of the hero. So if Diego, if you want to, thank you, put up the next chart. This is one of my very favorite charts because we recognize that archetypes and myths are cosmic, they're real, and they're grand. And each one of us has an archetypal makeup, the archetypes that came with us before we had a body. So all of our work in Science of Mind, is the reading from Dr. Holmes said, is to manifest those. So if you start down the left side where it says involution, okay, involution is how we come into this world in oneness, in absolute oneness. And we set in motion the creative process. So if you look at the top third, the center of the circle, Then involution is spirit, the perfect pattern and archetypes. That's the divine idea, the divine pattern of our life. And then when we move down to the next layer of soul, soul is the servant of spirit. And it's the same when we say love points the way, that spirit, and the law makes it possible, that's soul. So soul um, gives us life experiences through cause and effect. It brings forth the perfect pattern. So always our soul is working at, if you look at the kind of the left side, is looking at liberating us from our false beliefs so that we can be that perfect pattern. And so that's where all of our experiences come from. That's the part that starts in motion the hero's journey around the wheel. Something is not right with the soul. It may be something that needs to change. It may be a gift that we have that we haven't fully embraced. Maybe it's a dream that's so large we think it's impossible. Maybe it's a skill that we think we couldn't master. But that's the soul is the working part of this process. And it is through cause and effect that it brings forth the perfect solution or perfect pattern. So that's why when Dr. Holmes says the law is impersonal, it is impersonal. Although the experiences we get as we go through that are really personal, but the soul's objective is always to bring about the perfect pattern. So, in that lower third, in the body, that's the manifestation of our choices, conscious and unconscious. And so, through that, we experience ourself. We're developing our own power through all of that, liberating false beliefs, all of the soul's work, trying to turn us around, point us in the right direction, show us where the rest of our tribe is, give us a book, a friend, an acquaintance, anything to help us experience ourselves as powerful. And as we make that journey, and at the bottom where it says you earn the right to share your spiritual gifts by learning the lessons that build personal power, strength, and integrity. That's the part of when we went around the wheel of the hero's journey. That's the full journey and coming back home. That's completely beginning at home, the winds of change, the river of no return, the struggle mountain, the transformation, the gift when we come home changed. That is the bottom part because in that, we want to look at the second chart again, Diego. That is how we earn the right to share the gifts we have. Because before that, we didn't really have any gifts to share. So as we share them, when you go up the right hand side to evolution, we're sharing power when we share our gifts with others. We're contributing to the higher consciousness of the planet, manifesting. And at the top, the evolution of our individual expression of spirit is what changes the consciousness of the planet. So, in our science of mind teaching, we're going through that process all the time. And in that coming home, we know absolutely that changes in consciousness are what change the world. And they're small changes. Heroes come in many, many varieties, and we know when we encounter them. I think heroes are the people who put up a yard sign that says everyone welcome, love not hate, they're going to get the flack from their neighbors, they're going to get the criticism, they're going to go around the journey, but that's what they want to do. In the same way with, I have a friend that's part of a team that goes to disaster recovery, and what her little team does, not the debris, not that, they look for the priceless possessions that family might lose as things are getting scraped up. It might be a wedding ring, it might be a photo album, but that's part of the hero's journey because always It's their contribution to returning to the consciousness, the truth of who we are as individuals. So that's the journey. And so, as we know in summary, we take that journey all the time, and I would invite you to take it in your personal life with that. So, whoa, sorry. So, in that, we'll just do a prayer that has a little time for you to kind of contemplate your own journey, because we've taken one that each of us can take. So, in this moment of quiet reflection, as we just bask in the presence of God, of Spirit, of knowing that each of us is here for a divine purpose, is here, came here with the equipment of everything needed to fulfill our heart's desire and to return to the consciousness, that which expands the world, which is peace, acceptance, which is joy and creativity. So, in our quiet space, simply address Infinite Spirit, open the way for my perfect expression of the gift that under grace you have placed in me in the right way, the right time. And so, knowing that every prayer is a statement to Spirit and everyone is responded to, we just allow that magnificence that is as large as archetypes and myth to be as gentle as a quiet voice, a smile, and that consciousness in the hero's journey is many, many small steps. It may be large, but it doesn't need to be. So, embracing your own gift, and just let your mind, as you go through the day, be attracted to images, to people, to ideas, knowing that the gift that you are is being tended, nurtured, cared for. And so, in that love, in that grace, we just allow it to be.